Now we need to talk properly about oven size, throughput and capacity, because honestly this is one of the most misunderstood subjects in the entire mobile pizza industry. People consistently assume bigger oven equals bigger success, and honestly that's not true at all. In fact, many operators actually make their businesses harder, slower and less profitable by installing ovens that are far too large for the systems surrounding them. And I see this all too often. Now, this may sound strange initially because naturally people assume larger oven, more pizza, more profit. But real-world operations are not that simple because greater output does not come from oven size alone. It comes from workflow, staffing, preparation, organization, space, and process. And honestly, this is one of the biggest lessons that you must understand early. Because if you install an enormous oven inside a confined trailer or van, you're actually reducing efficiency massively. Why? Because eventually you run out of staff space, stretching space, preparation space, movement space. You physically cannot move efficiently anymore. Now this is where people become obsessed with theoretical oven capacity rather than the real-world sustainable throughput. And there is a huge difference between what an oven can technically hold and what a team can consistently produce during a service. Reality always wins over theory. Now let us imagine an example. Let's say you install a massive oven capable of cooking 12 pizzas at once. Sounds impressive online. It looks amazing in photographs. But now let's think about operationally. 12 pizzas at a time. You still need dough stretching space and you need people for that. You need topping space and you need people for that. You need turning space, cutting space, oven operational space, boxing space, serving space. You also need enough space for trained staff to keep that oven consistently loaded correctly. Now that is a huge trailer. Otherwise, what happens? Chaos. Staff collide. Communication breaks down, pizzas burnt, orders slow down and stress levels rise because you simply just don't have enough space for all the staff that are needed for that oven. And honestly, once stress appears, service quality drops frighteningly quickly. Another major mistake operators make is assuming that more ovens automatically solve the problem. So they start with one small oven and then get 3 or 4 or 5, 6 ovens. Again, this sounds logical initially. 2 ovens should equate more output. But operationally, that's often completely wrong because every oven behaves completely differently. Different heat, different recovery, different airflow, different cooking rhythm. Now, instead of managing one consistent cooking environment, you are suddenly managing multiple systems simultaneously. And that massively increases the complexity, particularly during a pressurized service. Which oven is hot? Which oven is cold? And honestly, complexity is the enemy of speed. The more complicated the system becomes, the harder it becomes for the average staff to operate consistently. And this is why one correctly designed oven often outperforms multiple smaller ovens. Consistency matters enormously in a commercial operation. Now, let us talk properly about throughput because throughput changes everything financially. Many people entering the industry massively underestimate the queue management, the service speed, the recovery time, and the human fatigue. Let me explain something important. You cannot overlap round pizzas. You also need handling space between the pizzas for turning and movement. That means actual usable oven floor space is always lower than theoretical space. During a heavy service, you must also leave part of the oven floor empty because this becomes the recovery zone. That empty section allows the floor to re-energize thermally. And without that recovery zone, the floor temperature collapses. Then suddenly pizzas stop cooking correctly. Burnt tops and soggy bottoms. I see that all too often. Longer cooking times and a slower service. Again, this is where social media and the real world operation are completely different things. Another huge factor is pizza style, because different pizza creates complexity and different operational requirements. Fast New York thin and crispy pizzas, the ones that I love, may cook extremely quickly at lower temperatures. We cook those in about 45 seconds, while traditional Neapolitan pizzas require higher heat, different dough handling, different turning rhythm, and also take a minute and a half. Roman styles, hybrid styles, sourdough systems, and Chicago town. Stay away from that 15-minute cook. You don't want that. Every change, every recovery, floor loading, and staff rhythms. This is why understanding your target market matters massively before selecting the equipment, because there is no universal perfect system. There is only the correct system for your business model and for the style of pizza you're going to cook. Another huge lesson is your staff matter more than your oven once minimum quality standards are reached. I've seen brilliant operators running small systems absolutely dominating service because their workflow was exceptional. 2 people whacking out 100 pizzas an hour. Likewise, I've seen giant expensive systems run terribly because the workflow and the staffing made no sense whatsoever. And this is important. You must design around stable operation, not ego, not Instagram, not theoretical capacity. If an oven says it takes 3 pizzas, you can't cook 3 pizzas at a time. You cook 1 or 2. Sustainable operation means staff can move comfortably, service remains constant, fatigue remains manageable, and quality remains repeatable. Now, let's talk about fatigue properly, because this, honestly, this subject is massively underestimated. Hospitality is physically exhausting, particularly mobile hospitality. You're often either loading, driving, setting up, cooking, cleaning, or breaking down, and then repeating it again the next day. And it's exhausting. Poorly designed systems multiply exhaustion dramatically. And exhaustion creates mistakes, poor communication, stress, and burnout. And that's why ergonomics matter massively. The counter height is important. The door height is important. The oven opening height, the turning space, and the storage access. Thousands of repetitive movements magnify bad design quickly. And another thing people misunderstand is staffing scalability. Large systems require more staff, more communication, more training, more management. And that's not automatically progress. Sometimes simpler systems create far greater profitability because lower staff costs remain lower and service remains smoother. And let's talk about the difference between realistic and fantasy throughput. Social media loves fantasy numbers. 300 pizzas per hour, 500 pizzas per service, 200 pizzas per hour, 60 pizzas an hour. Now, technically, some ovens can physically produce enormous outputs under perfect controlled conditions. But the real world trading includes customers asking questions, order confusion, staff fatigue, queue fluctuations, dough storage problems, weather changes, and equipment issues. The real world operation is messy, and that's why sustainable throughput matters more than fantasy throughput. Reliable service always beats occasional heroics. Man, I've done systems where you've whacked out 120 pizzas an hour, but I prefer 50. Now, another thing operators misunderstand is speed alone is not enough. You need quality, because fast, bad pizza simply creates unhappy customers faster. And honestly, customers remember bad experiences far longer than good ones. If the pizza was burnt, they're not coming back. And this is why balancing speed, quality, consistent, and staffing comfort is so important operationally. Let's discuss the oven recovery properly, because Recovery changes everything during busy periods. Recovery refers to how quickly the oven regains a stable cooking temperature after repeated loading. A poorly insulated oven or ovens with weak refractory systems or thin bases lose stability quicker under pressure, and that creates longer cooking time, poor consistency, higher fuel usage, and operator frustration. Bushman ovens are individually handmade in England using the highest grade refractory materials available, specifically because that stable recovery characteristic massively changes the operational confidence during pressurized service. And that's another thing people forget. Customers see everything. They see the stress. They see the confusion, poor communication, burnt pizzas, and arguments. Strong systems create calm, visible confidence, and confidence increases customer trust massively. Now let me explain another huge lesson. Throughput is not only about the oven. It's about the entire sequence. The stretch, the top, the placing of the pizza in the oven, the turning of the pizza in the oven, the cutting the pizza, the service, and the repeating that consistently. Every delay anywhere in that overall chain reduces the overall output. And that's why professional workflow design matters so much. Another operational mistake is overcomplicated menus. Huge topping selections slow service dramatically, particularly during pressure periods. Again, simplicity creates speed, consistency, lower waste, and simpler training. Now let's talk about space realistically. Inside mobile catering systems, every inch matters. Storage, dough trays, fridges, ingredient stations, peel movements, and the staff turning space. All of this must work together harmoniously. And that is why the best systems are usually designed around human movement first, equipment second. Now, over the years, I've watched trends come and go. Massive ovens, tiny ovens, extreme hydration, ultra minimal menus, and gigantic menus. But the operators who survive long term usually understand something very simple. Repeatability wins. Reliable systems beat exciting chaos every single time. And another important lesson is your oven must match your business stage. Many beginners buy systems designed for outputs they may never realistically reach. That creates debt, stress, oversized infrastructure, and operational complexity. Start with a system that realistically supports your current operational goals while allowing sensible expansion. That's the mature business thinking. Now, let's talk briefly about fuel efficiency, because this becomes a huge hidden cost long term. Poor airflow through an oven, weak insulation, unstable thermal design, all massively increase wood consumption or gas consumption. And over the years of operation, those costs become enormous. A properly designed low, smooth dome with a strong rolling flame characteristic heats better heat distribution, improved fuel efficiency, stable cooking conditions, and reduced operator stress. Now, honestly, one of the great misconceptions in hospitality is believing customers care more about technical obsession than experience. Customers want fantastic food, served quickly, served consistently in a memorable environment. And that's the real business. A strong system protects that experience. So, in summary, bigger ovens do not automatically create bigger businesses. Workflow matters more than theoretical capacity. Multiple ovens often complicate operations instead of simplifying it. And recovery, staffing, and ergonomics matter massively for throughput optimization. A sustainable, repeatable system always outperforms exciting chaos long term. We put out new videos regularly covering the real nuts and bolts of this business, not the glamorous stuff, the stuff that actually makes you money. If that sounds useful, hit subscribe and you won't miss a thing.